quiet and pathetic. We all know the quiet isolation of an unanswered prayer, the requests that sit in silence for year 6, year 12, the long stretch of time where you start to wonder if heaven has gone entirely quiet. Jesus understood that specific human condition perfectly. He told the parable of the persistent widow specifically for those who feel their heart starting to go out. Most of us hear this story and picture God as a grumpy, reluctant judge, a tired official holding out until a desperate woman knocks on his door enough times to wear him down. This interpretation frames faith as a manipulation tactic, suggesting that prayer is simply a process of wearing God down until he finally relents. But according to Luke's opening sentence, the reason for the story is exactly the opposite. Jesus spoke this parable so that we would always pray and not lose heart. The single Greek word hiding inside this story changes its entire shape. This parable serves as a survival guide for sitting in the silence, shifting the widow from a model of pressure to a picture of endurance. The scene opens in an earthly courtroom hijacked by a corrupt official. Luke tells us twice that this judge answers to no one. He fears neither God nor any human being. Then a widow steps in. In first-century Jewish society, a woman without a husband typically had no direct legal standing. Without a son or a brother-in-law to speak for her, she was entirely vulnerable to the system. According to the Torah, the widow was meant to be at the absolute front of the line for protection. Mistreating her, or ignoring her cry, was a violation of God's design for justice. Her case was the definitive test of the courtroom. She keeps returning to the judge day after day. She asks for her case to be made right, and day after day, he forces her to sit in total silence. Finally, the judge caves. He mutters to himself that he will give her what she wants, lest her continual coming should weary him. That word weary in the Greek is hypopiazo. It is an ancient boxing term. You can see the heavy leather straps on the hands of this bronze Greek fighter. Hypopiazo literally means to strike someone under the eye, to give them a black eye. The judge isn't worried about being annoyed. He is terrified of public humiliation. He calculates that in a small community, a judge who turns away a widow will eventually be known as the man with the black eye. He delivers justice for entirely selfish reasons. His heart never moved an inch, but his calculation of the cost finally shifted. Most readers approach this story as a direct comparison, but Jesus is actually building a massive contrast. We can break down his point using what scholars call an a fortiori argument. As this logic model shows, it is an argument from the lesser to the greater.
If a smaller thing is true, the larger thing is even more certain. Let's apply the variables. If a selfish human delivers justice simply to avoid a damaged reputation, then a perfectly righteous God will surely deliver it to his own people who cry out to him. The corrupt judge needed the threat of a public black eye. God requires zero pressure from us, because righteousness is his very nature. The widow's persistence serves as the essential shape of faith in a world of delayed justice, rather than leverage to force heaven's hand. When the widow asks to be avenged of her adversary, she uses the Greek word antidikos. This same legal term appears in the first letter of Peter to describe the devil himself, framing our wait as a spiritual courtroom battle. But contrast the earthly judge with the true judge. While the earthly official gives a reluctant nod to make a problem go away, the true judge steps down from the bench entirely. At the cross, the judge walks across the room and takes the defendant's place. He absorbs the katakrima, the legal sentence, paying the fine with his own life. The widow had to fight her battle alone, but the book of Hebrews describes Jesus as our active antincheno. He is a formal legal advocate standing beside us, speaking on our behalf at this moment. This cosmic reality changes the posture of prayer. We present our case to a Father who has already ruled in our favor, moving beyond the desperation of trying to catch a stubborn official's eye. That leaves us with one painful question. Jesus ends the parable by promising God will avenge us speedily. So why does the waiting stretch into years or even decades? The Greek phrase entakei often means decisively or suddenly rather than soon. The Israelites cried out from slavery in Egypt for 4 centuries. 400 years of silence ended in one sudden night of deliverance across a dry seabed. Later, Israel sat in exile in Babylon for 70 years. 2 generations of silence were broken when a pagan king named Cyrus issued an overnight decree to send them home, recorded on this cuneiform script. Between the Old and New Testaments, heaven went entirely silent for another 400 years. That silence was broken suddenly when an angel appeared in a small town and a baby was born in a stable. The long silence in your own life is not evidence of God's absence. Often, the silence is the hidden space where He is assembling the exact answer you are praying for. Jesus closes the parable by asking if He will find faith on earth when He returns. He is looking for the kind of trust that keeps coming to the door. Keep knocking.